In today's video, we're going to explore the moral basis and the type of person who would deny and revise genocide. And we're going to look at two individuals who seem to be from different camps. You have Dan Blizerian, who denies or revises the numbers for genocide in Europe. He may deny it all out, or he may deny aspects of it and the kind of the education system of it, in order to paint a method of propaganda which makes out the numbers are inflated to justify a certain agenda. On the other hand, you have Destiny, who himself denies, the genocide that's happening in Palestine, but based on nothing other than just thoughts and opinions. They're both calling upon thoughts and opinions. They're not really looking at the actual evidence as it is. They're just making proclamations based on arrogance and nothing more than that. They're not calling academics to their case. They're just making certain statements, but not really doing anything more than that. And whilst liberal centrists would deny that genocide is happening, meanwhile they would look at Dan Blizerian as a Nazi and an anti-Semite, and that might be partly or fully true. They themselves are reflecting the same moral case and the logic behind the genocide revisionism that Dan Blizerian is. But it just so happens to be a revision of the genocide that is happening in Gaza, and a situation that it's already been normalized. It's already been something that the media and the politicians have trained us and have made us apathetic to. They're apathetic to the suffering and the sheer ethnic cleansing, and now the brutal acceleration of a genocide that is happening in Gaza. To make my case, and by the end of this video, we're going to go through why they deny it so much, and it has something to do with the level of narcissism, of a level of even racial supremacy on part of their side, and also, of course, money has a big part to play of it. For Destiny, I believe he's himself a psychopathic. Dan Blizerian has also got the kind of a psychopathic tendency, but he also has he has a bigger ego than Destiny. So he doesn't care about the criticism on his behalf. Destiny himself is coming from a point of some dark money, although we cannot give evidence to this case, but obviously he's had an all-expensive trip to Israel with Loner Box to interview people in Israel. So there's a case to be made that he is, of course, in the pockets of the propaganda campaign. There's actually a new piece of news that came a couple of days ago regards to Israel pumping 150 million into a propaganda campaign, because of course the already present billions put into the media campaign in order to put the wool over our eyes isn't working, so they need to put more money to it. But I don't think they can gaslight us, not if we unless we allow it to happen. But let's go through the argument I'm making. Dan Blizerian, he himself talks about revising the numbers, talks about how it's not possible that to gas so many people.
Looking at the numbers of the Holocaust, and it's bullshit. And they revised the figures. It's not like some crazy conspiracy. They said 4 million people died in Auschwitz, and then they literally revised it and said it was more like 1.1 to 1.5 million. Well, it's like, how can you be that far off? It's like less than half of what you said. It's a quarter of what you said, or like a third of what you said. And then you start looking at just the math on this stuff. Like, the math doesn't math. Like, you cannot cremate that many bodies. You'd be cremating those bodies for hundreds of years. Not to mention, gas chambers are not an effective, efficient way to kill people. And these are the Germans. These are the guys that have the best tanks, the best fighter jets, the best technology of anybody in the world. And they're going to put a wooden door in a gas chamber. They're going to, just think about the logistics of it. If you just want to kill, say 5-6 million people, you're not going to march 100 of them into a shower at a time, gas them, wait for the gas to release, then put all those people in wheelbarrows, wheel them out, dig Like, think about the time it would take. Like,
now, before I go into Destiny's equivalent, denial and revisionism, what kind of evidence is Dan Blizerian pointing to? Is he making a kind of a fact-based case? If that's the case, then kind of let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the evidence. No, he's just being forthright with his opinions in his his kind of agenda, which is kind of like he's kind of drawing upon a kind of a right-wing anti-Semitic base. And he's not really pointing to evidence. He's just spouting opinions, but in doing so, in full confidence. Now we're going to look at Destiny. He himself, of course, is doing the same. He's being very forthright, very, or rather, very confident in his opinions, but he's not really pointing to the evidence. He's just looking at the case made by ICC in that there is a plausible case for a genocide being made. And he's saying, no. These quotations that obviously suggest genocidal intent aren't genocidal.
It is a misrepresentation of the strength of the case against Israel, just like the majority of the quotes they have in this case are. And also, you said it was an extremely well-founded case. They spend like 1/4 of all of the quotations, some even pulled from the Goldstone report, that try to that actually deal with the intent part. Mm-hmm. Which is, by the way, I think you guys, I don't know if you use the phrase the dolus specialis, that the intentional part of genocide.
Sorry, I don't know that term.
I think it's called dolus specialis. It is the most important part of genocide, which is proving the special. It is a highly special intent to commit genocide. It's possible that Israel could.
That's mens rea.
No, the mens rea. Yes, I understand the state of mind, but for genocide, it's called dolus specialis. It's a highly special intent. Did you read the case?
Yeah.
It is a highly special intent.
I'm going to ask you again.
Yes.
Please stop displaying your imbecility.
Okay, I'm sorry if you think the declaration of the judge is imbecile.
Don't put on public display that you're a moron. At least have the self-possession to shut up. Did I read the case?
Putting my display on camera. You're comfortable putting yours in books.
Okay? I read the case around 4 times. I read all of the majority opinion, the declarations. I read Aaron Barak's declaration. Even reaching the benchmark of plausibility is a very high standard in the world. It's the equivalent of a regional player qualifying for an Olympics. It's still 2 steps removed. You may not be on the team and you may not get a medal, but to get qualified, which in this context is the equivalent of plausible, you must be doing something pretty horrible.
So clearly, both of these people are putting, forward their opinions and their agenda, and of course what they want to believe, rather than actually the facts on the ground. Now, a case for genocide happening in Palestine is not hard to believe, and is not hard to prove, especially considering you've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of video evidence of just bombs of civilian targets. The fact that whenever people are escaping to safe zones like Al-Mawasi, those areas are also bombed. But also the very quotes by Israeli officials themselves. You have Gallant talking about, we must cut off food, water, electricity, these human animals, and we must treat, act accordingly. You got quotes, so much so that the evidence is to the tune of hundreds upon hundreds. In fact, Charity has compiled a list of 500 instances, more than 500 instances of genocidal intent being uttered amongst officials, by the politicians, by the media. So obviously the genocidal culture is there, the genocidal politicians and the genocidal intent is there. The evidence is widespread. So clearly Destiny is denying evidence in the same way that Dan Blizerian is. Now, Destiny would also, in the same way that Dan Blizerian would look at the confinement of a particular quote and say, no, this is not what they meant. They didn't mean all people. When they're cutting off food, water, electricity, they meant Hamas. But when you look at who the food, water, electricity would be affected, who would be affected by this particular siege, which cuts off water and food for everyone. It's not hard to prove. They're not making a moral case for being against Hamas because they're not even mentioning in these quotes. This is a rage-filled quote in order to justify the attack onto the so-called other, which includes the entire population of Gaza. Now, despite the fact that these people deny the genocide or make revisions of genocide, Dan Blizerian and Destiny both make an argument or a moral case for why a genocide is necessary, which is absolutely ridiculous. It is pure moral insanity. Here, Dan Blizerian talks about how there was a genocide of the Christians by the Bolsheviks, who were apparently 84% Jewish, which is absolutely ridiculous and not provable.
The communists, which we sided with, prior to that was the Bolshevik communist, revolution, and they killed like 30 million Christians right, just during that alone. And those are the people we sided with, and that was 84% Jewish. So, the Bolshevik Revolution was 84% Jewish, and they mass murdered Christians, and nobody talks about that. Why don't they talk about that genocide? They only talk about 6 million Jews, 6 million Jews, 6 million Jews, 6 million Jews. And that 6 million figure was used like 256 times.
And in this following video, Destiny himself says it quite part loud when he says that there should be a genocide. You cannot make this stuff up.
But honestly, I'm pro-genocide. It sounds really shitty, but I think that Israel should just draw up its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but that's about right. You just think the Palestine should just that's about right.
So these people deny or revise genocide and then make a moral case or try to even justify genocide. So their whole argument is null. It's really just a puppet show in order to take our eyes away from what is happening. These people are either paid or they are arrogant or narcissistic arrogant, which I think Dan Blizerian is, or paid and also have a strong level of psychopathy, which I believe that Destiny has. But those who deny genocide in either of these cases, these people need to be seen as they are, and we'll be looking at more of these, the so-called liberal centrists, or even those who call themselves liberal left, which is completely in opposition and a complete denial of liberal humanitarian values when they deny the very thing that is happening in front of our eyes. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.